Yes, this is Eric Deloach, your residential book author, and we have a new edition of Black Authors and Others, and we have a very special guest. Um, and for you who love the theater and who love film and all the beautiness and what it represents, we have a very special guest. So at this, nice and beautiful time, we're going to allow our guest to introduce herself. This is going to be such a treat, trust me. Mhm.
Hi, Eric. I took off my glasses because the glare, you couldn't see my eyes. So
Yeah.
uh, this is not the real me. The real me has glasses on. So,
Okay.
but I'm Freda Scott Giles, and I am retired from the University of Georgia, where I was jointly appointed in theater and film studies and African American studies. So my background is primarily in theater, and I came to being a professor through a kind of a roundabout route from being involved in theater and studying theater. And finally, I got a degree, a master's degree in theater arts and education from Teachers College, Columbia University, and then later a PhD in theater studies from City University of New York.
Yes.
And from there, I went to teach at the University at Albany in Albany, New York, and then later at University of Georgia. And I was at UGA for almost 20 years. So that's kind of it in a nutshell of my background.
Right. And I know her very privileged to go to First ME Church, and this is where I met her. And prior audience, going to New York, her husband talked to me about New York before I wanted to go and told me
Mm.
a lot of great information. And so I was very well equipped. For those who from New York, I was very well equipped, ready to meet everybody in New York, due to, in large part, to her husband mentoring me and educating me on that. Um, Great
Thank you.
person.
I didn't know that. Thank you for saying that.
Yes, yes. So tell me what was your initial what initially when did you initially fall in love with theater? Just
Oh,
out
yeah.
the blue.
Well, like a lot of young people, I got involved in plays in high school.
Okay.
And like the senior play, every year they had the senior play, and
Hmm.
the it was mostly the seniors who did the play. And it had been something I hadn't seen a lot of theater at that time. You didn't see a lot of people of color in
Mm.
theater. I mean, people don't understand how pioneering people like Sidney Poitier and other people were at the time when I was a kid growing up, because you really wanted to see them. But I hadn't seen a lot of live theater, and but participating in high school, I knew I loved it. But of course, my parents discouraged. They didn't want me to try to go into it, so I became an English major in undergraduate school. But I still went to New York and did. At that time, people did a lot of theater. You would find a cubbyhole somewhere and do a play. I don't think they can do that anymore. It was a different place when I was there. Now it's so expensive. It was always expensive, but now everything has gone through the roof. But anyway, I got involved, especially in Black theater. And this was the thing, in New York had a vibrant Black theater community. And so you weren't making any money, but you got experience.
No,
Do,
about what around what time was this time period was
I'm
this?
talking now from, I was in New York from 1972 to 1990.
Okay.
So
Okay.
before probably most of your listeners were born. That's why I'm
Right.
saying it was a very different scene then.
Right.
but I loved it. I enjoyed it. And I got into the unions. I got into Actors Equity. I got into Screen Actors Guild,
Hmm.
um, and was doing bits and extra work in the films. But I was learning,
Right, right.
learning on my feet.
Mm,
I studied at HB Studios, which at that
okay,
time was a very reputable, and I think it's still there. I haven't checked,
right,
but a studio under Earl Hyman, who was a very prominent actor at that time.
right,
So I always encourage young people. Uh, People get bitten by the bug, but it's work. You have to study. It's a
right.
discipline. It's an art form and it's a craft.
So,
So
so did you meet your husband in New York?
yes, I did. We were
Wow,
cast. We were cast. This was
wow.
1980. That's when we
Okay,
started dating, and
okay.
we were cast in a play together called "Sty of the Blind Pig" by Philip
Wow,
Hayes Dean. And he played Blind Jordan, and I played Alberta, and that's how we met. And we kind of hit it off, and
right.
uh, so it started there.
Wow, people. So, what um what was your favorite role in glorious New York theater community that you played that you really you are fun about?
Well, there were a lot of plays nobody ever heard of, uh,
Okay.
and some things people heard of. But I became acquainted with a director named
Mm-hmm.
Glenda Dickerson, who
Okay.
was at that time well known in Black theater, and
Mm-hmm.
she also was only the second director to direct on Broadway.
Wow.
She directed, well, it didn't work out that well, but she directed this play called Reggae. But
Okay.
anyway, that I wasn't involved in that, but I got involved with her and the people who worked with her regularly.
Okay.
And we did a lot of different kinds of plays, but she liked Greek classics, and I did
Okay.
too.
Okay.
So we did The Trojan Women by Euripides.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was a favorite of mine because it was a really good production.
What
Yeah.
was so tell us just a little bit that title is just very interesting. So kind of what can you tell us kind of what was it about? That's interesting.
Oh, okay. It's a classical Greek tragedy by Euripides,
Okay.
and it's about the fall of Troy. You
Okay.
remember the story of the Trojan War,
Right.
and of course the Greeks snuck in this Trojan horse and
Right.
came out and conquered the city. Well, Euripides wrote about the day after all this happened and
Wow.
about what happened to the women, the queen Hecuba, uh, uh, the uh, the wife of Hector and Andromache,
Mhm.
uh, the prophetess Cassandra. All these people were major characters, and of course Helen. There's a interesting scene where Helen comes in, and of course, the women want to kill her, but
Mhm.
it's a beautiful play, and it questions. It talks about the cost of war,
Mhm.
and it's also seen as probably the first anti-war play because
Wow.
Euripides was very dissatisfied with what was happening in Athens at the time,
Okay.
in ancient Athens, and he was speaking to the Athenians through this play about
Mm.
about the cost of war.
Right.
So anyway, it's one of the great tragedies. When I was teaching, uh, it was one of the plays I would teach when I was teaching theater history and Western drama.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Greeks the ancient Greeks had a lot in their performances, had a lot of in common with traditional African performance, because
Oh,
it was a group thing, and there was music and there was dance, and
okay.
there was a lot of coordination. So I really like to teach that, and also to juxtapose it against some traditional African performance. But anyway, that production, it was very good, and it got us a
Mhm.
lot of good feedback from people about that show. So that's one of my favorites.
Right.
And of course, I like the play Where I Met Leroy, my
Right.
husband.
Right. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, so as you know, your audience probably doesn't know that Leroy passed away in
Right.
2010, but
Okay.
yeah, so but it was really enjoyable experience. So
Hmm.
yeah, those are a couple of favorites.
So did you, okay, like musicians? I acted one time at first, I mean, way back in the day in the play. So but
Uh-huh.
that was, my little debut, interesting, way back when. But I'm more, the author, and more of the musician, but I love theater, I love film and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
is there a likeness? Okay, like for example, like if a band plays or whatever, a group plays, after they're finished with the gig, they will go to a coffee shop and
Mhm.
talk and converse and stuff like that. Is it the same way in the theater world? Okay, we finished a
Well,
show and
yeah,
we're going to go to a theater. We're going to go have some coffee and just talk about whatever we want to talk about.
right. Well, I think a band is like a family. It
Okay,
becomes like a family, and so does a cast.
right,
And if you're very fortunate, it gels and people get along well, and they
right,
do hang out together, and they do, and there's always talking about the work. You
right,
know, actors love to talk about their work, and
right,
so yeah, so a bunch of actors, if you weren't too exhausted
right,
and you didn't have to go to a day job, you
right,
could hang out for a little bit.
right,
But one thing about, for example, musicians understand other
right,
musicians' lives, what their
right,
lives are like, what they go through. And
right,
so actors do too. They understand each other's lives, and what they have to go through to try to establish themselves. So yeah, I would say in that sense, you would have uh,
similar
similar, yeah, similarity. Yeah.
similarity. Did you ever did say after the last show or something, or prior to, would the director and the group, everybody involved, would you have a lunch or
Lunch? No, they would have a cast party. Are you
okay,
kidding?
cast party? Tell us about that. Man, we are learning. Young people, we're learning.
Yeah. Well, when I was teaching, you know, because I directed plays at the university, and
Okay.
I enjoyed doing that very much. But I would not go to the cast parties because I didn't want to know what was happening.
Yeah, okay.
uh, I thought it best that I mind my own business and not see, because they would, you know, they like to party. So
Okay, right.
usually after the opening, you would have a party. I know the Broadway people, I've never done Broadway, never appeared on Broadway, but I know
Right.
when they open, they usually have a cast party and wait for
Okay.
the notices. Well,
Right.
that was back then when there were newspapers, a lot of newspapers,
Right.
um, but yeah, the cast would like to assemble, and when you work really hard, as you know, because musicians work really hard too.
Right.
You work really hard, you need to blow off some steam when
Right.
you
Right.
can. And so you would have a party.
Right.
I remember one time I thought I would have a little theater party in the afternoon.
Right.
So I said, everybody come at 2 p.m. and I fixed the lunch and everything. And I thought they'd be gone, 5, 6 o'clock, and 11 p.m. people are still there. I wanted to go to bed. The food was gone. The
Right,
drinks was gone.
right,
But they were enjoying themselves. So, you
right.
know,
Well,
uh, yeah.
yeah, well, I remember, and I tell it to people all the time. Anthony Quinn, before he passed, he was talking about uh his experience, and that was it he saying? He said that he learned about film and theater in England, and he was saying there that the people that are in that industry are put in high esteem and looked upon as the people that would inspire, say, the doctor to be a better doctor, or inspire the bricklayer to take their job seriously, inspire the whole community. And they were like the leaders of the community. He said in America, it was about money and stuff
Yeah.
like that, but it was very serious over there, that these people were the inspiration of society.
Well, I don't know if it went that far, but
Mhm.
in the British training system, it's
Mhm.
rigorous training.
Right,
It's very serious, and also the Europeans, the British and the French and the other Europeans, really look at theater as an art form,
okay,
and they take it very seriously as an art form.
right,
And so they will actually put government money into subsidizing theaters because
okay,
they feel like they're important for the people.
wow,
Theater is an important way to express ideas, and it's
right,
a way to communicate that has been around for thousands of years.
right,
And they recognize the significance of this. Whereas I think if Anthony Quinn said it was in the United States, you're not really taken seriously unless you're a star or you make
hmm,
money.
hmm,
People don't think much of you
hmm,
unless you're in that upper echelon
hmm,
of your Al Pacino or Dustin Hoffman or uh, up there, Dame Judy Dench or whatever.
right,
But if you're up there with the stars, but there are a lot of very fine people who are working at the profession and always working to better themselves in the profession.
right,
So, yeah, it is looked at as a higher art form than in Europe than it is here in the United States.
right,
And that's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
right. Now let me ask you this: What was you? Okay, you were an actor, you went to
Mhm,
school and stuff, and then you came to University of Georgia. When did you take
mhm.
the leap to be a director? When did you take the leap from actor
Oh,
to
well,
director?
I got into directing. See, if I had it to do all over again, people kept telling me, "Oh, directing school, they're not going to take you. They're
Right,
not going into directing school because you need all this background and all this."
right,
But if I had to do over again, I would go to directing school and have gotten my MFA in directing.
okay,
But I just got into directing by directing. People would ask me, when I
mm,
was in New York to do things, and I would stage readings and I would direct no budget shows. When you
okay,
have no budget,
right,
you know, uh, and they're not paying you,
right,
they love having you. So
okay,
so I learned, and my friend Glenda, who's an accomplished director
mhm,
and was a working director and getting paid for directing, I
right,
learned a lot by working with her about
mhm,
directing.
right,
So when I got into teaching,
mhm,
and I started my career in academia, they would ask me to direct. And
okay,
so I just built up a directing resume from directing university theater productions
right,
across the universities. And
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, and now now people in the community, if they have something they want directed, I direct things in the community for other people sometimes.
Right. What was that? Because I take it that all actors don't become directors, vice versa. So what gave you this inner confidence to make the transition into directing? Because I assume that some people would say, no, I just want to be an actor. They're not willing or open to making that leap.
Well, I felt like once I started doing it, and it is a very different job, because when you're an actor, you just have to concern yourself with that one role, and making that role work within the context of whatever you're working in. But when you're a director, you kind of have to see as everything as much as you can, and you work with the designers, you work with all of the technical elements, and it's fascinating. It was something that really interested me and made me. It was challenging, and well, acting is challenging. I'm not going to say it isn't. Acting is very challenging, but this is challenging in a different way. And I really liked the challenge. I really liked all the work that you have to do, all the studying you have to do, all the research that you have to do, all of the rehearsing that you have to do. And I said, wow, this is where I should be going.
So you really develop a joy, and really apparently you did well at it, because people kept asking you to do it again. So that is a sign, I think, say in New York and in Georgia here, that is a sign that people enjoyed your work. And let me ask you this: so maybe you can't explain this for the lay person, but what would you say to the lay person? What is the difference? Not and say that we want to be in the industry, but just trying to get a mind around two dynamic, different roles, if you will.
Well, I think whatever you want to do, and I'm talking now in the theater, but also in film, there are a lot of people who want to work in film, which is a whole different medium, and there's a lot of things to do, but do as many, especially when you're in school, that's the opportunity to do as many jobs as you can.
Right.
Because you may not know that you have a particular affinity or gift for something. And then you try it and you say, oh, maybe this is what I should be doing. So when I was in school, when I was in undergrad school, I did stage management.
Okay.
I did all kinds of crew work. I worked in the costume shop. I worked in the scene shop. I worked in all these different aspects. So I could feel that I knew what other people were going through when they were trying to put this show on. I have a feel for what the designer needs as far as communication. I have a feel for what the actor needs. I have a feel for what the if there is. I haven't worked a lot with me. I did a few plays with musicals, but I would not consider myself a musical director. But
Mm-hmm.
um, but I gained an appreciation for all of these positions because somehow I managed to work with many different positions, and then in working off Broadway and off Broadway and off Broadway.
Okay. Yeah.
uh you have to be aware and do many different things. Um so it was a gradual process, and it just evolved. So I
Right.
can't say that there's a particular moment.
Hmm.
It just was an evolution where I started transitioning.
Okay. Is there anxiety? I mean, well, let me see. I was just feel like this tension or whatever anxiety. Um, before the first show and after the first show, is there?
Oh, there's anxiety all the way through.
Okay, anxiety. Okay.
Yeah, because I'm sure as a musician and
Hmm.
you're making your composition and you're making, doing the arrangement and
Right.
trying to get it right, trying to get the balance of all the pieces,
Hmm.
trying to get the sound that you need, trying to get the coordination that you need among the musicians. And that can produce nervousness, especially when then you have to go present it to the public.
Right.
And it's like you're sharing something that's very meaningful to you.
Right. Right.
So you want it to go well.
Right.
So yeah, so nervousness, anxiety. Of course, if you're the director, then you have to be the steadying force for all the other people.
Right.
All right. So I can't go and have a breakdown or whatever. You know, I have to be there for
Right.
everybody else. So so I would look calm on the outside, but inside, um it's like you know how they tell you about that duck is gliding across the water, but underneath
Right.
the water, the feet
Yeah.
paddling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's yeah, there's always anxiety, there's always nerves, but
Hmm.
there's a lot of when you see the performance and you see everybody is has gelled together and you see that community has come together and the thing looks like it's gelled together as a piece, then you have a real sense of uh like you said, joy, happiness, completion.
Right. Here's the $1 million question.
Mhm.
Where is the director doing the show? Are you in the audience?
Oh,
Or
well,
are you behind? Are you behind the
no,
stage?
no. See, when you're in a theater, um, you hand the show over to the stage manager.
Okay.
And in the professional theater, if somebody hires you to direct,
Hmm.
you're finished after opening night.
Okay.
So you go to the opening night and you watch the show,
Hmm.
and whatever notes you have or final thing you can say to the stage manager. But then if you want to, you can just go on to the next thing that you're going on to.
Right.
Um,
Right.
Now, in the university theater, I went to the show every night because I
Okay.
felt I should be there
Hmm.
for the students.
Okay.
Because you do, the stage manager is in charge, but often the stage manager is a student. So you want to be there as a sort of a steadying force and a backup if needed. But you keep out of it unless you're asked to be in it. you,
Right.
you try to train them to do their jobs, and then they do them.
So your stage manager is very important.
Very important. Very important. It is the most important job you can cast, because if you have a great stage manager, you've won a lot of the battle.
Oh, okay. Um, okay. I think it look like my time is going on almost 10 minutes. We'll have to redo it again. I don't know. But this is so great. Something happened with my but yeah. So have you directed and also been in a show?
No, I admire people who do that, but I've
Right.
never had occasion to do that. Uh,
Mhm.
because I think it would be very difficult to do.
Right. Right.
Uh, I've seen people do it, but I've never done that. No. I mean,
Okay.
I'm okay. I don't have to be in it.
Okay.
I
Okay.
just
Okay.
try to put it
Okay.
together, But
Now,
yeah.
go ahead. Have you ever do you get involved? I mean, maybe not 100% or maybe 100%. Do you ever the screenwriting?
Oh no, screenwriting is a great uh and difficult occupation.
Right.
Uh, and I've never directed for the screen, never written for the screen. I've written for the stage, but not the
I'm
screen.
sorry. I'm probably confused. For whoever writes the play for the stage, have you ever done that or kind
Oh,
of or told them, for example, okay, I know you have this idea, but we might need to adjust it to make it
oh yeah, well, that's where when you have a new play
right.
and you have the author is living and
Right.
you're working with trying to stage that play for the first time, yeah,
Right.
you do a lot of talking and a lot of interacting with the playwright.
Right. Right.
So, and there's a position in the show for theaters who can afford it, have a dramaturg. And that
Okay.
person, uh, for example, there's this play by Jonathan Larson. It's a musical, Rent.
Right.
It
Right.
became a big hit,
Yes.
but he had a dramaturg working with him, someone
Okay.
to tell him, this works, this doesn't work. Have
Right.
you thought about this?
Right.
Have you tried this?
Right.
And so he went through a great deal of trial and error to put that together.
Right.
But because he had the feedback that he needed, it
Mhm.
became very successful.
Wow. So
Mhm.
that would help. Um Now, did you do that one for any of your plays at UGA?
I didn't do dramaturgy. I did when
Did
they
you have
have the,
somebody do that for you as the
oh,
director? You
oh
kind of
yes, yes, absolutely. Because we teach people dramaturgy as well.
okay.
So we teach people how to do just about everything with theater. And now we used to only partially teach film. We
Right.
should teach criticism, how to write about film,
Right.
and how to write a screenplay. But now they have a film studies program at UGA, so the students can actually make films and see their films made, and
Right.
that is a great learning experience. But dramaturgy, I have done dramaturgy for other people,
Okay.
but it was in the context of I worked at the Atlanta Shakespeare Festival, the one at
Mm,
Oglethorpe College. It doesn't exist any longer.
okay.
But when you're a dramaturg for a Shakespeare or a classical play,
Hmm.
basically you're helping people to understand things they might not understand about the play.
Wow.
That's one of the jobs of doing that, and helping them to figure out uh, what's going on and what the character is, and what is the context and what is the culture, all these things that they need to know. You help them know it.
Wow. That is interesting. So what is just a few more questions and maybe another time.
Mhm.
So yeah, definitely. This we just at the tip of the iceberg for these lay people like myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. So what material is out there now that you would recommend and that you like now?
Oh well, my favorite playwright right now is Lynn Nottage.
Okay.
She writes wonderful plays, and there was a play one of her plays recently I saw in Atlanta. It was
Mhm.
called Intimate Apparel,
Okay.
and it was a semi-historical play. She she's I just like her, the way she puts the plays together, and the way they're constructed,
Hmm.
and they're very moving, personal plays, and often with a woman as the central character. And so I would say you would enjoy reading her plays.
Hmm.
And I've directed several August Wilson plays.
Okay.
He's sort of an American classic.
Okay.
And so basically, but I would just say read plays
Okay.
and imagine in your head how you think it would look while you're reading it. Imagine the characters moving around on the stage. What does the set look like? What are they wearing? What does the costume look like? What is their time period? How are they moving? Just see if you can imagine these things and
Wow.
and do the play in your head.
Right.
And that'd be a very enjoyable thing to do.
Okay. Well, we're going to stop it here. Something happened with my Zoom, but we're going to keep this. So tell me,
Okay.
Are you doing any plays or in a way that people can interact with you with plays that, because I mean, I definitely think that we're spellbound now by you. We're definitely spellbound.
Well, I haven't, the last thing I did was on Zoom, or
Right.
it was recorded,
Right.
and it was last fall
Right.
for UGA, and it was
Okay.
called Breathe.
Okay.
And they did film it, but I don't have a copy of it, but
Right.
it was a new experience in trying to do a play, and
Right.
knowing that it was just going to be that nobody was going to be there, it was going to be in space.
Okay.
And in cyberspace.
Right.
And the actors, we were limited because we
Right.
had the COVID rules, so
Okay.
the actors couldn't be together the way they would be in a regular play situation. So it was very challenging.
I bet.
Yeah, it was very challenging. That's the last professional work that I did. But
Right.
yesterday,
Okay.
we had a big program at the Morton Theater,
Okay.
and I just staged a reading.
Okay.
The event was Slavery at the
Mhm.
University of Georgia, tell the whole story. So
Okay.
basically, we had dramatic readings
Mm-hmm.
of documents that had to do with, what's under Baldwin Hall, the remains,
Right.
Linen Town, and what happened to Linen Town, and
Okay.
so many incidents,
Mm-hmm.
starting just after the Civil War. We started after the Civil War and came right up till today, to show
Okay.
that the campus has always been a place that's been a difficult place for people of color. But and then they showed a film yesterday, and they also had live entertainment. So it was quite a long day, but a very fulfilling day.
Great. Well, we'll stop here, and we'll have to do it again, because this was just really a treat. It really was.
So the recording, did any of it come out?
Yeah, it's down to 1 minute. So let me end it. You stay, and I'm gonna tell everybody, I'm glad you just got a touch of the iceberg, and you got to learn so much. And we will try to reschedule and do it again. But this is a great starter for you. So you stay, and everybody else will have to leave. And we'll see you next time on Black Authors and Others. Bye-bye.